doing yoga?
I started without knowing I started when I was very young. My good friend in primary school when I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, was Indian, and her mum was a yoga teacher. And they lived on the road adjacent to ours, so when I used to go and play after school or play at the weekend, I used to go into her back garden. We used to do yoga. I didn't know it was yoga. And then later in life, I came back to yoga when I was at university, when I agreed to go with a friend of mine, and I hated it. I really didn't enjoy the yoga. I found it really intimidating because everybody was really skinny, and I really didn't enjoy it. And then a couple of years later, I moved to Japan, and I was doing a lot of running, a lot of exercise. One of my co-workers who was training to do like a half marathon with me, she was doing a lot of yoga. She was doing power yoga, and she suggested that I start it, and then that's how I started sort of later on, and that's what I enjoyed because it was like a dynamic form of yoga that at the time is what I needed, and then it was from there that I moved into the other sides of yoga.
So when did you decide to become a teacher?
I didn't actually ever decide to become a teacher. It just kind of happened. When I started to practice more deeply and become more aware of these other aspects of yoga, I really wanted to learn more about the philosophy and kind of the mystical aspects of it and where it all came from. So I decided to do a teacher training because actually I just wanted to learn more about the philosophy.
What's yoga for you?
It's just a way of life. Most people's entry point into yoga is through the physical form of yoga and the exercise of yoga, but it's so much more than that because it really develops your sense of awareness. Yoga is a really nice time for going inside and reflecting on yourself, and kind of, in a way, it's like being wisely selfish.
Thank you. So what are we going to do today?
Today we're going to look at doing a standing posture, a balance. We're going to do a seated posture, and we're going to do a backward bend. So let's start in cat-cow. So bring your hands underneath your shoulders and bring your knees underneath your hips. Now, a couple of things to be aware of. You have a bit of hypermobility in your body. I can see it in your elbows because your elbows are a little bit like mine where they want to kind of a bit wibbly-wobbly. Yeah. So it's really important to activate through the hands. I mean, this is important for everybody, really, finding a little tiger paw with the fingers, and this is especially important when we get to downward dog, but also keeping a little micro bend in your elbows so you're not kind of just hyperextending through the joints, okay? So that means spinning your inner elbows forward a little bit, but also having a little micro bend there, okay? The other thing is, especially when you're practicing in a bigger body, is to make sure there's enough space between the hips and the shoulders. So you might be good to bring your hands a little bit further forward, and then your hips come more forward, but you feel like you get more space open up in the rib cage, because that's what yoga is about creating space in the body. Push into your hands, feel like you're pushing the floor away from you. Lift the chest, lift the tailbone, and then the action comes from the tailbone. Start to round through the tailbone and let it ripple up the spine, and then bring the chin towards the chest as you exhale. Inhale, lifting the tailbone first, and then the head. Exhale, rounding through the tailbone, and then let it move down into the head. That's it. And exhale, once more rounding. Beautiful. Now stay here on your rounding. Inhale, but shift your weight forward beyond your hands. So bring your weight forward, forward, forward with the toes tucked under. Lift the hips as you exhale. Come into a downward facing dog. And just start to pedal the feet out, bending one knee at a time. Maybe shake your hips out a little bit. And then you can shake your head out. A little no movement with the head, a little yes movement with the head. So the neck's very, very loose. Good. Take a deep breath in. Take your hands a little bit wider so you've got your index finger about the width of the outer shoulder. That's it. And then spin the inner elbows forward, wrap the shoulders around and keep the head heavy. Lovely. Slowly begin to walk your hands back towards your feet. Good. Now keeping your feet approximately hip distance apart, maybe a little bit wider. Check that your heels are a little bit wider than your toes. And then you can soften your knees, bend your knees quite a lot. And then you can use your fingers to release the toes away from each other so you get a bit of space between each toe. And Then catch hold of the elbows above the crown of the head. See if you can frame your face with your arms. And then sway a little bit left and right. This part of the spine gets really tight, especially when we've just been asleep, which is pretty much what's been happening. So see if you can let your head go. Keep your knees a little bit bent. That's it. So just relax the sway a little bit, so less force and just more organic. That's it. So you're moving with your breath. Lovely. Now release your hands down. Take your feet as wide as your mat. Wide as your mat, and then come down to find a squat position. Lovely. A lot of people actually can't do this, and it's nothing to do with shape, it's actually to do with the structure of the body. And so if you're in that camp and you're not able to get the heels down, make sure first of all that your feet are wide enough, but then you could always put books or roll your mat up and put it underneath your heels. That's one option. Another option, if you're really still struggling with that, is to maybe perch on a couple of books or a couple of bricks, and then you can still get that same shape. Push your elbows into your knees, and your knees back into the elbows, stretch through the fingers, and then pick up your toes and start to lift your toes towards your shins. So you start to feel that it's not a lazy posture. You're not kind of hanging out waiting for a bus in India. You're lifting your toes up and activating through the outer hips, and this is a great way of stimulating the peristaltic movement for going to the toilet first thing in the morning. Place the hands down to the floor, lift the hips up, beautiful. Bring your feet back to about hip distance. Lovely. And then walk your hands forward. Keep that little micro bend in your knees and come back into downward dog. Look at your hands. Can you point your index fingers forward? Yeah, just a little bit. That's beautiful. Spread your fingers wide and take your hands a bit wider. Lovely. Now let the head go. As you inhale, now come forward into plank pose, shoulders over the wrists. So you might need to adjust the position of the hands. Go more forward with your hands, a little bit more forward. So just as Stella's done, she's lowered her knees down into this half plank, which is a really nice thing to do if you struggle to weight bear with the knees off the floor, but that's another option. Exhale, press back into downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to plank, either knees up or knees down. Good. Exhale, back into downward dog. Keep breathing through the nose. Inhale, come forward to plank. Exhale, press back into downward facing dog. Good. Now come forward to plank. This time as you exhale, knees down, press back into the heels, come into child's pose. Keep the arms extended, try not to move the hands. As you inhale, look towards your hands, start to pull the elbows out to the side and drag the body through, coming into a low cobra, lifting the chest up. Lift through the back of the neck, push down into the tops of the feet, activate through your thighs, beautiful. Now exhale, press back into downward dog. Through bent knees. That's it, lovely. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, lower the knees, back into the heels, child's pose, good. Keep the hands where they are, start to slide the body through into low cobra. Lovely. Dragging the body through all the way down and then lifting up. Push into the feet, lift through the back of the neck, keep the neck long. Lovely. Exhale, press back into downward dog. Once more, forward to plank as you inhale. Exhale, knees down, push back into the heels. Slide forward as you inhale. Lovely, bring the chest all the way down and then lifting up, keeping this in. Exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Start to unfurl the body, rolling up vertebra by vertebra. Keep this very heavy. Okay. The first pose we're going to work on is a standing balance. Now the great thing about this posture is there's various stages that you can stay in whilst you progress to kind of the final expression of the pose. Yeah, I hate that phrase, but anyway. So there's different stages that you can work into. So it's really important that if you feel like, oh my god, that's too much for me, you just stay at one of the earlier stages, and it's all about developing strength and inner poise and inner balance. And the really important thing to remember when you're balancing, it's a little bit about strength of the body, but it's more about your mind and where you focus the eyes. Because if you're trying to balance and you're looking all around the room, you're never going to be able to balance. Stay quite contained, focus on yourself, and try and minimize any distractions that are going on around you. And it helps you to focus on one point with the eyes. Don't let the eyes wander around. Okay? You're going to pick up your right knee and hold on to your right knee with both hands. Okay? Now the important thing here is not to lean forward and collapse your back. You want to lift up through the crown of the head. So this in itself can be quite tricky. Yeah? Yep. Just holding onto the knee is quite hard. Now if you want to stay here, that's absolutely fine. If you can hold onto your right knee with your left hand and then reach your right arm up, and that's the next stage. You could take a little strap and place it around your knee as a way of kind of helping. Push into your left leg, pick up your right knee, reach the right arm up, and then maybe you reach the right arm back. But remember, if that's too tricky, you can stay here, or you can even stay here. So this time you're picking up the right knee. Catch hold of the right knee with both hands to begin with. Keep the crown of the head lifted. Push down into your right foot. Lift up through the inner arch of the foot. Beautiful. Now keep your right hand on your left knee and your left hand to your left hip. Beautiful. Keep the eyes steady. Reach your left arm out behind you. Thumb points up. Lovely. This seated position was working with the same shape. Okay, so it's exactly the same shape as we've just made, but we're sitting on the bottom doing it. Now, this pose is called Crouchasana, the heron pose, and actually it's traditionally taught with the leg, the lower leg in this way, which doesn't necessarily work for everybody's knees, because knees can be quite sensitive, and I've got very bad knees, and I find this a little bit much in my knees as well. So, and especially if you're working in a bigger body, this can be quite sensitive. So I'm going to suggest you can either have both legs straight, or you can bring the lower leg into this shape. Okay. So we can experiment with both and see where you feel easier. So you can either keep the leg extended or the leg like this. So let's bend your extended leg to start with, and then catch hold of the outside of that foot with the opposite hand. Yeah, so this can be a little bit tricky. So you can use your right hand on your right hip, that's it. Okay. And then extend the right leg up. There we go. So to make it a little bit more accessible, you just use a strap. Important thing is to keep this lifted, yeah, and not to slump. So catching hold of your right foot with the left hand, and if you need to use the strap, bring your right hand on your right hip. Push down into your hip with the hand, that's it. And then you can start to extend the leg. Now can you see that you're hyperextending your knee already? So keep a little micro bend in that knee. There, lovely. Now lift your chest. Lift your chest. Good. Now, with that right hand, you can extend the right arm up, and then take that right arm back and look across your thumb. Beautiful. Can you lift this leg a little bit more? Push through your heel. Now bring your right hand back. Bend your right knee a little bit. Catch hold of the foot with both hands, or strap. Lovely. Now see if you can lift the leg up. For me personally, I find like a really helpful way of coming into this shape is to have my fingers pointing up. Having the fingers up helps me to lift my ribs, but it also helps me to lift the chest and pull the shoulders down. So keep your hips moving forward, lift your chest. Now roll your shoulders down and lift up through the back of the skull. That's it, beautiful. Now what I'm going to do is place a bolster on top of your ankles and calves. So if you feel that you want to drop your hands down onto the bolster, you can go a little bit deeper into the backward bend, but without actually catching hold of the ankles, like the full Ustrasana. Breathe, relax your neck, lift up through the back of the skull. Lovely. You can place the hands onto your lower back. Begin to push your chest up, lifting through the heart, lifting through the head. And then you can untuck the toes and sit back onto your heels. Now you can take a little time to rest forward in child's pose.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for coming here today and being a guest on my blog.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm very happy. I love the way you do yoga, you teach, and I love yoga as well. So thank you so much.
You're
and
welcome.
I'm sure that all the people that are gonna watch the video will love you. And if they want to know something about you, what do they have to do?
So my website is www.nadapriya.com, and I'm teaching body positive yoga around London, and you can see body positive yoga. I'm trying to encourage yoga for all shapes and sizes, and kind of combat this kind of Instagram image of skinny yoga that's being plastered out everywhere, and help people to create this yoga for themselves. So yoga can be done by anybody, anywhere, anytime. So I think that's really important to bear in mind.
Yes. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.